They said it was quiet. That's how it always starts, doesn't it? The Brentwood neighborhood, nestled in the hills of Los Angeles, is the kind of place where silence is currency. Privacy isn't just expected, it's purchased, protected, practically worshipped. There's no shouting here. No drama. The air feels padded. Every hedge is perfectly trimmed. Every gate a fortress. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. So when neighbors talk about that Sunday afternoon, they all say the same thing. It was quiet. Too quiet. Because inside that $13.5 million estate on Westgate Avenue, behind wrought iron gates and glass walls reflecting the California sun, 2 people were dead. Stabbed. Brutally. Repeatedly. Michelle and Reiner. 70 and 78 years old. Parents. Spouses. Philanthropists. People who threw perfect dinner parties and donated to children's hospitals. People who were supposed to die of old age, not murder. But it wasn't the fact of their deaths that shattered the illusion of safety in Brentwood. It was who they died at the hands of. Their son, Nick Reiner, 32, living quietly, some say resentfully, in the guest house just a stone's throw away from where his parents were found. He was arrested that same night, still on the property. Silent. Bloodied. Not resisting. That would have been the end of the story in most cases. A family tragedy wrapped up in a convenient headline. Rich kid turns killer. Mental health. Drugs. Trauma. Lock him up. Move on. But this story, this one didn't end there. Because just 72 hours later, Nick was dead. Not by suicide. Not by natural causes. By inmates. Inside a high-security Los Angeles holding facility, Nick Reiner was beaten, fatally, while awaiting trial. And this week, for the first time, former U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has confirmed it publicly. Her words? Chilling. Measured. But laced with unmistakable fury. This wasn't justice. This was punishment without a verdict. She's not wrong. But even that confirmation isn't the full story. Because what happened inside the Reiner estate, and afterward, behind jailhouse walls, isn't just a tale of violence. It's a slow-burning revelation of privilege, secrets, silence, and systems designed not to protect, but to erase. And what Nick's sister Romy told the police that night. That might be the most unsettling detail of all. There's someone dangerous in this family, and it's not who you think. Now, ask yourself, when a daughter says that in the wake of a double homicide, who is she trying to protect or expose? Because the truth is, this might not be a story about a killer at all. It might be about a setup. Or worse, an inheritance no one wanted, but someone needed. Let's go back. Not to the crime scene. Not yet. That's too easy. Let's go back to the silence. The curated quiet that Brentwood demands. Because that silence? It has cracks. And once you find them, you can hear everything screaming just beneath the surface. There's a photo that keeps circulating. You've probably seen it by now. Nick Reiner, maybe 10 or 11 years old. His sister Romy, even younger. Both standing barefoot on the lawn of their childhood home, holding ice cream cones, smiling with the kind of easy warmth only rich kids in West LA can afford. Their parents, Michelle and Reiner, stand just behind them, arms gently resting on their children's shoulders. There's a softness to the photo. You can almost smell the sunscreen. You can hear sprinklers in the background. It feels like a catalog cover for the American dream. Wealth, family, sunshine. But zoom in on Nick's eyes. Not the smile, eyes. There's something distant there. Something resigned. You think I'm reading into it? Maybe. But that look, it doesn't go away in the later photos. Not at high school graduation. Not at Romy's 21st birthday. Not at his father's foundation gala. Always the same expression. Detached, present, but not anchored. And when police pulled surveillance footage from the estate that Sunday, what they saw confirmed something they didn't want to believe. Nick wasn't hiding. He was waiting. And what he did after the attack, what he didn't do, may be the most haunting part of all. But hold that thought. Because this isn't just a story about what happened on one horrific day. It's about what happened over years. Years of quiet, calculated unraveling. The kind that doesn't make headlines until blood is on the walls. Now, here's where things start to shift. We like to think we understand family crimes. We apply labels. Broken homes. Mental illness. Abuse. Wealth gone wrong. The black sheep. The overlooked signs. But this case laughs at your categories. Because Nick wasn't estranged. He wasn't disowned. He wasn't living across the country and came back in a fury. He was right there. Every day, living in the guest house, eating dinner with his parents, some nights, avoiding them, most nights, but always there. And from the outside, no one saw the cracks. Even Romy didn't see them. Not fully. Not until that day. And that's what makes her statement to police so unnerving. Because she didn't say, "I think Nick did it." She didn't say, "He's dangerous." She said, "There's someone dangerous in this family, and they should be a suspect." Let that sit for a moment. A daughter walks into her childhood home, finds her parents, her mother and father, stabbed to death, sees her brother, blood on his clothes, in the same house. And she doesn't immediately say, "He did it." She says, "Look somewhere else too." What does that mean? Is it denial? Or is it deflection? Or is it something else entirely? Because what we've learned since then, from court documents, from security footage, from anonymous insiders, is that this case doesn't begin with the murders. It begins months before. And once you start digging, you realize this wasn't an explosion. It was a countdown. Let's step back. What do we really know about Nick Reiner? Not the mugshot. Not the headlines. Not the words suspect or parasite. What do we know about him as a human being? 32 years old. Not married. No known children. Living on a sprawling estate owned by his parents. Unemployed, at least publicly. No college degree on record. No arrests. No scandals. No lawsuits. No notable digital presence. In an era where everyone leaves footprints online, Nick Reiner seemed to float. No Twitter rants. No unhinged Reddit threads. No obsessive Instagram behavior. Just a name. A face. A whisper. Until the blood. But here's what we do know. There were financial tensions inside that house. Ones quietly noted in estate records and whispered by house staff. There were disagreements. There were changes made to trusts and wills in the last year. There were delays and disbursements. And there was one particularly strange note in a caretaker's journal dated 4 months before the murders. Nick didn't speak at dinner. Just sat, eyes on the patio door, kept checking his phone, said, "Everything changes after June." June. The murders happened in July. Now, let's jump forward to the jail. Because here's what should have happened. Nick should have been placed under suicide watch. He should have been isolated. He should have had legal counsel present. He should have made it to trial. But instead, within 72 hours of being placed in custody, he was dead. Attacked. Beaten. Bludgeoned by inmates. No guards intervened in time. No cameras caught the attack early enough to prevent it. And no one will answer how it happened. Pam Bondi, former Attorney General, was the first high-level official to break the silence. And what she said shook everyone. This wasn't justice. This was a message. A message? From who? And for what? She didn't say. Not yet. Because the part that came after that sentence, the part she almost didn't say, is what has everyone watching this case with wide eyes and clenched teeth. You see, Pam Bondi didn't just call the justice system a failure. She hinted at something far worse. That Nick Reiner may not have been the only one involved in this crime. And that someone, somewhere, wanted him silenced before he could speak. So here's the question that lingers. The one we'll be asking all the way through this investigation. Was Nick Reiner a killer? Or was he a witness? Because if you believe the official story, it's over. He did it. And now he's gone. But if you start to ask questions, if you pull at the seams of the narrative, something begins to unravel. Why did Romy cast suspicion elsewhere? Why did the jailhouse accident happen so fast? And who had the most to gain with all 3 Reiners, mother, father, and son, dead within a week? The answers to those questions are coming. But they won't come easy. Because what's hidden behind luxury gates and family photos isn't always dysfunction. Sometimes, it's orchestration. And what came next would change everything. And no one saw it coming. You ever notice how memory bends around tragedy? Ask any neighbor on Westgate Avenue what they heard that day, and they'll all give you the same answer. Nothing. It's eerie. Almost scripted. But that's the thing about silence. It lets horror walk in unnoticed. No alarms. No screams. No shattered glass. Just time, stretching, then stopping. At exactly 2:12 p.m. on Sunday, July 14th, the Reiner estate security system registered an anomaly. It wasn't loud. A slight interference. A skipped camera frame. A temporary loss of signal from the east wing motion sensor. And then, nothing. The stillness resumed. The next time a sensor went off, 6:47 p.m. Romy entered through the side gate with a spare code. 5 hours of total silence. In a house where 2 people bled out, and another lived a few dozen feet away in the guest house. Ask yourself, what really happened during those 5 hours? Or maybe the better question is, what didn't happen? Romy's account begins at the curb. She arrived in a rush, unannounced. Her texts to her mother had gone unanswered since morning. No replies from her father either. Unusual, but not unheard of. They were private, often traveled on short notice, sometimes even turned their phones off to avoid the world. But that day felt different. She said she felt something was wrong. The phrasing she used to the police was strange, almost poetic. I don't know. I felt like the house was closing in on itself. Make of that what you will. But here's what we know. When Romy approached the front door, the lights were off. Curtains drawn. Unusual for late afternoon in a home that practically bathed itself in sunlight. She rang the bell. No answer. She tried her key at the front. It jammed. Another oddity. It was the side gate that opened. It always had issues, she later told detectives. Never fully latched. Her mother hated that. Kept saying they'd have it fixed. She walked past the pool, toward the kitchen patio entrance. Still no movement inside. No shadows. No footsteps. Not even the sound of TV or music. Just nothing. That's when she reached for the patio door and found it unlocked. And what she walked into, she's never spoken about publicly. Only fragments from the 911 call have been released. Some of them redacted. But one phrase, repeated, has remained. There's so much blood. The kitchen was spotless. It wasn't the scene of the crime. Romy walked through it, calling out. First quietly, then louder. Mom, Dad, Nick. No answer. She passed the den, still immaculate. Furniture undisturbed. A glass of water on the console table, half drunk, no condensation. Suggests it had been there for hours. Only when she reached the hallway leading to the master suite did something shift. The carpet changed color. Dark patches. Not yet fully dried. She froze. One of the investigators later said the footprints were faint, but visible, heading away from the bedroom, not toward the door. Romy kept walking, and then she saw it. Her father, Reiner, slumped just inside the bedroom doorway. Pajama shirt stained dark, collarbone slashed. His hand, still clutching the edge of the doorframe, as if he'd tried to hold himself upright before collapsing. A few feet in, her mother lay crumpled beside the bed. She was face down. Blood pooled beneath her, spreading along the hardwood. Near her hand, a pair of reading glasses. Not broken, just neatly set down. That detail still haunts me. Romy told dispatchers she screamed. The call transcript shows panic, but not hysteria. She was crying, yes, but there was structure in her voice. I need help. My parents are, there's blood everywhere. I don't know if someone is still here. She stayed on the line. Then she said something strange. I think he's in the guest house. The dispatcher asked, who's in the guest house? There's a pause on the tape. Then Romy said, my brother. Here's where it gets more complicated. Police arrived 11 minutes later. Fast, by any standard. They cleared the main house first. No one else inside. No signs of forced entry. No broken windows. No struggle, at least not in the common areas. Then they moved toward the guest house. It's a standalone structure behind the main estate. 2 stories. Separate alarm system. A single camera facing the walkway. That camera was disconnected. Pulled, cleanly, from its port. Detectives later said it wasn't yanked violently. No damage to the wiring. Someone had detached it with care. They knocked. No answer. They called out Nick's name. Still no response. Eventually, they breached the door. And there he was. Nick Reiner. Sitting on the edge of his bed. Shirtless. Blood on his pants. A shallow cut along his forearm. He didn't flinch. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Just looked at them. One of the arresting officers later described his expression as eerily calm, like he'd been waiting. When asked to stand, he complied. When asked if he was armed, he shook his head. When handcuffed, he offered no resistance. And when they read him his rights, he said nothing at all. Not a word. It would take hours for the crime scene unit to finish processing the house. But something was obvious almost immediately. There were no signs of forced entry. No ransacking. No theft. Nothing was taken. The family safe was untouched. Jewelry, cash, electronics, all present. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. This was targeted, personal, deliberate, and yet clean. Too clean. Only one knife was missing from the kitchen set, and it wasn't found in the house. Not in the master bedroom. Not in the guest house. Not even in the trash. It was later recovered from the estate's drainage system behind the tennis court, wrapped in a bath towel. Someone had taken the time to walk it there, rinse it, and leave it, concealed but not entirely hidden, as if they wanted it found, but not right away. That level of calculation doesn't match a crime of passion, but the brutality, the rage embedded in those wounds, that wasn't cold either. So again, we're left in limbo. Whoever did this wasn't acting on instinct, but they weren't entirely methodical either. They were emotional, but focused.